What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and this is the top 10 Nerf Primaries. Okay, you guys, these blasters are going to be only Nerf branded blasters, although we probably will visit off-brand blasters in another video, so make sure you're subscribed for that. And these are only going to be dart-firing elite style blasters, so shooting these 50 caliber darts, either elite darts or streamlines, some people call them, because that's what they used to be called back in the day. But that's the kind of ammo that these blasters will be firing. So if you want to see blasters like Rival or other things, let me know in the comment section below, because I'm sure we'll be doing a top Rival blasters video at some point in the future. So also make sure you're subscribed and click that notification button if you want to see those in the future. Okay, you guys, so it was very difficult to narrow down my favorite primaries that shoot elite darts, and we have a top 10 for you, although there's a few that just missed the cut, so I want to show you guys those real quick. First off, the Stampede. A great blaster back in the day, but we've come a little bit past this technology, and this blaster, although very good and was a game breaker to some back when it first was released, this blaster is definitely not the most reliable and is pretty difficult to mod to make so. So although there are very cool things you can do to this blaster, this one just narrowly missed the list. Also, just barely missing the list is the Modulus Regulator. This is a great new blaster to the line, but just narrowly missed the list because of its reliability, ergonomics, and easiness to mod. Although if you do have the knowledge to be able to mod this to keep select fire, it can be a pretty darn good blaster. This belt-fed mechanism, though, is not my favorite, and that's probably the main reason why this did not make the list. Okay, you guys, number 10 on this list is the Nerf Rebelle Fearless Fire. This is a great little compact blaster that is the only blaster actually that is in the Rebelle line on this list, and also the only blaster that you will top off and not use a magazine with. So if you're into not using magazines, this is definitely the best blaster on the list. It is a great little platform, although somewhat hard to find these days. This one has actually been modified, but they are pretty easy to do so. You can fit a lipo in the battery tray back here, although it is sort of hard to get ones that fit in here, but there are some that do, and very compact and very nice sleek blaster. Alright, you guys, number 9 on this list is the Nerf Cam Ecs 12, and this is a blaster in the elite line, and really, in my opinion, one of the prettiest blasters that Nerf has come out with. I love the white and blue. Very cool. It is a very comfortable blaster. I love the length of the stock. The grip is very comfortable, and it has a actually pretty nice foregrip up front also. The downsides to this blaster, obviously, is the camera portion of the blaster. It was a big flop. It is a pretty terrible camera, and it made the price point, I believe, when it first was released, around $80. And it never really came down too much from that. I mean, I think I picked up this one on clearance for around $50 or so, and that's still quite a bit for what's basically a Strife. Now, that being said, this being basically a Strife internally is one of the big advantages of this, because it will take most upgraded motor cages for the Strife. So that's pretty cool. Really need to get around to modding one of these myself, but this is definitely a very liked blaster by a lot of Nerfers, and very sleek. So this comes in at number 9 on the list. Okay, so number 8 on this list, guys, is the Captain Casseon Star Wars Deluxe Blaster. This thing is definitely super cool looking, very comfortable, and as it's obviously based off of a real steel firearm, it is gonna be so. So I think that this is one of my favorite looking blasters. It is really cool because it can take barrel attachments, stock attachments, and obviously scope attachments. So when you break it down to a compact blaster, it is pretty reasonably sized. It has sounds and lights, which makes it really, really cool. Has a very comfortable grip, and once again is basically a Strife internally, although it is not quite as compatible with the internal upgrades as the previous Nerf Cam was. They do make a few cages for this, but it is definitely not the easiest to mod. I do have a mod guide for this blaster that does keep all the lights and sounds functional, along with the ability to turn them on and off. So if you're interested in that, click the indentation above. But this thing would be probably much higher on the list if they made better cages, like metal ones, for this blaster that would allow us to get a little higher performance and a little bit more reliability out of this blaster. That being said, this blaster also retailed for $80, which was extremely high, but was down to around $30 on clearance at Target when I bought quite a few of them. So this is also sold as the Gen Urso blaster in like a reddish color, as just what you see here today, except with a 6-round magazine, and that retailed for $50, which was even more outrageous to me. That being said, that blaster came down quite a bit when it went on clearance also, so if you scored some of these when they're on clearance, this is definitely a great blaster and a great platform. Okay, you guys, so number 7 on the list is actually 3 different blasters, and I put all these into the number 7 slot because they're all very similar, but they all have some pluses and minuses, and it really just depends on what you're looking to do. So we will take a look at those 3 blasters. They are the Elite Alpha Trooper, the Elite Retaliator, and the Modulus Mediator. So the Modulus Mediator, being the newest to the line, is actually one of my favorites if you're looking for a HVZ or super stock blaster. This thing is very easy to mod. I have a mod guide for this blaster on my channel. Click the indentation above if you're interested in that. But it is very, very compact. It can take a stock and barrel attachment if you so choose, but also allows you to remove those and gives you a very, very small platform with a great short time action that is very, very nice and ease of doing so. So this is a very good blaster, although it is magazine loaded from the side on the left side. So this is not the most friendly to left-handed players, and some right-handed players don't like magazines coming out the side. It is not my favorite. I do prefer underneath, but to get something this compact, that's the way they had to go. The Elite Alpha Trooper is very similar to that, although it does have a magazine that comes in from underneath, which I like a lot more, but it does have more bow barrel and is a little bit larger than the Mediator, obviously. The priming is very, very nice. It is all built in, so just like the Mediator, you don't have to add on any external pump action kit for this. It does have reasonably good mod potential. They both have Slamfire, which make these both great options if you like a Springer style blaster for an HVZ event or your super stock wars. And last but not least is the Retaliator. Now, I prefer this probably the least when it comes to HVZ events or super stock because of the way it primes on top here. Unless you add a pump action kit, which are pretty pricey, this is probably not my favorite, although this does have the ability to add an expanded plunger tube and has probably the most aftermarket parts to be able to mod this to a level of possibly 200 FPS. So this has a extreme amount of mod potential, so if you are looking for game types that are in a higher FPS class, I would prefer this blaster over the previous two. But you do have to put quite a bit of work and time and money into this to get it to that level. So the greatest thing about all three of these blasters is they are pretty reasonably priced. This one being only $20 for just the base blaster, and these, when they were originally released, just a little bit above that, around 25 or so. So those are our number 7 blasters. Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 on the list is the Nerf Doomland's Desolator. Also being a stripe reshell, it is obviously a very reliable platform. This thing came with a 10-round magazine that is really cool looking, banana style magazine with some added detail, which is really, really cool. This is obviously a very neat looking blaster, very compact, and has very good mod potential as the Strife and all the others similar to that. Now, this does not take motor cages similar to the Strife, as the motors actually come out on the opposite side, but they do make aftermarket cages for this blaster, and this thing can be turned into a pretty darn good HVZ style blaster or super stock blaster because of its platform. Now, this thing does have a permanent stock attached. It is very compact. Some people like that, some people don't, but it is definitely has a very nice angled foregrip here that is built in also, and it's just a really cool compact blaster with a great look, and is actually pretty darn affordable at $30, or when on sale can be found as cheap as $15. So definitely recommend this to somebody looking to get into the hobby and wants something like a Strife but can maybe not find one. Okay, you guys, we've come to number 5 on the list, and before I show you that blaster, I want to let you guys know that you can now get Naptown Nerf merch on Teespring, which all that information is linked in the description box below. You can get shirts similar to this in a couple different colors, and actually a couple different styles of t-shirt, and even get a hoodie if you're into something like that. So definitely check that out in the description box below. Okay, you guys, so number 5 on the list is the Nerf Elite Ravenfire, or Raven. They are very cool bullpup style blasters. You can get them in quite a few flavors. The Ravenfire, the OG Green In-Strike Raven, the Elite Raven, and the Elite Stinger Raven. All very, very cool blasters. Some are easier to come by than others, but they are all very, very popular blasters, and this is the one that's actually available currently at Kohl's, although the way they have those priced, it is not very fair to us, the consumer, and I would highly recommend not paying over $35 for this blaster, as I don't think it's worth more than that. Now, the green version is actually the very first flywheel powered magazine fed blaster in the Nerf line, and that makes this thing pretty cool. It is also the only bullpup flywheel blaster in the Nerf line, and this thing is loved by many, many Nerfers. It is very, very compact and is a great, great package and very, very cool looking blaster. Now, it is a little bit finicky with the trigger pull. The trigger pull is not the crispest, and with some modification you can definitely get that much better. These things do have quite a few cages, although they're very difficult to find right now anyways, and I'm hoping that with all the new cages coming onto the market that more will be made for this Raven. All those things being said, this thing is awesome. You can buy full auto kits for this thing, so it is a very, very cool blaster, one of my favorites, and that's why it comes in at number 5. Okay, you guys, number 4 on the list is the Nerf Elite Demolisher, and this thing is a very cool looking blaster, one of my favorites. Also very similar to the Strife internally, although it does have a different motor cage, so it is not compatible with those Strife cages, although there are a few that you can get for this blaster. It also has a HAMP that will fire Demolisher missiles, and that made this blaster really, really cool. There is very few Nerf blasters out there that have 2 firing modes, and that is very, very special about this blaster. That being said, a lot of people, when modifying this blaster, cut this off and just make it look way more tactical and cool looking than when it actually has this on it. So you can do either of those things. There's so many options. There's so many cool modifications you can do to the Demolisher, and it is very, very cool looking when you integrate it into different shells, one of those being the Raven we just previously saw. So this is a very, very neat blaster. It is actually high on the list mainly because it is very easy to do a very simple modification. All you have to do is put in 4 IMRs and it should work without tripping the thermistor. Although I probably would only recommend using 3 because these motors really can't handle that much voltage and you probably will burn them out eventually. But that's really all you had to do and have yourself a modified blaster, and that's really, really cool for people that can't really do a whole lot internally. So I think that's a big advantage to the Demolisher, along with having that second firing mode of the Demolisher rocket, which comes in very handy in a lot of HVZ games, as that can break tanks in some game types. So that's really, really cool, and that's why the Demolisher is number 4. Okay, we've come to number 3 on the list, and that is the best full auto blaster in the Nerf line, in my opinion, the Nerf Rapid Strike. It is the best, in my opinion, because it's actually the only one that uses that pusher gearbox inside of it, as opposed to a lot of the ones that are coming out nowadays using a belt system, which is just not quite as reliable or moddable, in my opinion. So this thing has just been a powerhouse, a really good platform. It also accepts those Strife motor cages because it has the same ports inside of it, so that makes it really, really awesome as well for modifications, along with having that 3-switch ability setup that also allows you to single shot it very easily. It is a great, great platform, has a very comfortable stock, very comfortable foregrip, has a nice good sized battery tray in front so you can put pretty good sized lipos in there, has a in-strike attachment obviously on front, along with many tactical rails, which makes it really, really cool. And the shell and everything about this blaster is top notch, in my opinion. You can do a lot of cool things to this, including just minimizing it completely, cutting off the front and back and turning it into a rapid pistol like I've done behind me, like Zombie Dust here. When you've removed the attachments, it is now a rapid pistol, which is really, really cool, very compact, and it's just nice that you can actually minimize it that much. So that is one of the things that's very, very cool about this blaster. So the Rapid Strike also came with sweet 18-round magazines that were clear, and very, very few Nerf blasters actually come with 18-round magazines at all, let alone clear ones. This is the only way you could get clear 18-round magazines, and these were my go-to before Worker came out with all their magazines that you can now get. So very, very cool. This was basically $40, which I think was very reasonable for what you were getting. The biggest downside to this blaster is it does take a little bit more knowledge and effort to modify well. Keeping that 3-switch setup is not easy, and it isn't super, super difficult to modify, but it does take a lot of patience and is definitely a lot more difficult than most of the blasters on this list. Alright, you guys, so the number 2 blaster on this list is actually the oldest blaster on this list, and it has been around for a very, very long time. I believe like 1996, if I'm not mistaken, and it is the Nerf Longshot. This is actually the newest Longshot to the line with its elite themed paint job, although it is not elite performance. This thing is only really good if you modify it, and it has extremely high mod potential. You can get these things over 300 FPS when modified correctly. So this blaster has been a staple in the Nerf community for a long time. There is many versions of this. You have your original Midnight Blue variant, you have the In-Strike Yellow variant, you have the Red Strike series, which is extremely rare, and then you also have a Zombie Strike blaster, which is probably the easiest to obtain today, although you will not get the front gun portion of this blaster with that. That being said, this is really all you need to be able to perform well in a Nerf war. This is a very good blaster when modified. Definitely not the greatest stock You do have to do modifications with this because it is a older style blaster. Still has an old style AR, so you have to blow that out. You have to do some pretty cool mods, but this is a great beginner Springer blaster to modify. I highly recommend it. This was actually one of the first blasters I chose to modify, and I highly recommend doing so. This is just a great platform, probably the most potential out of any Springer you can find out there today. Has a humongous plunger tube and has many kits you can get for internal mods, along with doing old school mods too, like a brass breach or a sleeper breach. Those are very common and very cool, and you can get quite a bit of power out of that. So highly recommend checking out the Longshot. They also make new shells that are more tactical for the Longshot, like the Exus 2, which is the shell I used when I did my Logan modification. So you can check that out. There are just so many cool things you can do with this blaster. It is up there at number 2 because of its mod potential. Alright you guys, number 1 on the list is, of course, the Nerf Strife. And this blaster has been probably the most popular flywheel blaster, and probably the most popular blaster period in the Nerf community for the last few years. It is an amazing platform. It is a very affordable blaster. It has so many kits, so many things you can do to this. It is hard to kind of go into all of them, but this comes in several different colors. The original blue, the probably most common color, orange, and the newest to the line is the Modulus white stripe, which is really cool. I love it in white. These things are becoming harder to find. Hopefully we'll get another repaint of this blaster soon, but right now you can really find them only on Amazon, and they are out of stock a lot. So these are very difficult to come by because of their extreme popularity. So very compact, very small. You have your barrel attachment, your stock attachment, you have your tactical rail on top and bottom here. Very comfortable, and just by far the most reliable flywheel blaster out there in my opinion, because of its simple internals. This blaster is very simple to mod and very affordable to mod. This is also an amazing blaster for integrations because of how compact and small it is. You can do awesome things like this, the Blue Stinger, which is a stripe with a Vortex Tornado, a vintage blaster integrated. Very cool integration. There are so many integrations involving this stripe blaster out there, and highly recommend getting a stripe if you're into Nerf, because it is the best blaster out there. You can also do awesome things like Sub-Zero and put sweet tactical kits on it, tactical rails, and make it really cool looking like that. Also, just keeping it its standard form factor is really cool. Also, adding some sweet transparent stocks to it or what have you. Some cool resin cast parts is another thing that you can do to this blaster. There's so much you can do. I actually cut out and put in resin on this one, and there's a full video on this blaster along with all the other ones I just showed you on my channel, so definitely check those out. The stripe has just so many endless possibilities that it is my #1 blaster. So I hope you guys enjoyed the top 10 Nerf primaries, and if you guys have blasters that I didn't list or a different order, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I want to know what you guys think is the top 10 Nerf primaries. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and as always guys, peace out.